Lilies and Lilacs, Episode 8, The Dead Walk. Adventurers never stop, even in the heart of winter, when the snow layers the land in thick sheets. There will always be people who push themselves past their own preconceived limits and seek glory beyond the horizon. Tessica had known this fact, even as a small child. She had seen hundreds, if not thousands of out-of-towners come through the front doors of Lilies and Lilacs. Thanks to the new guild representative, there were actual quests on her board now, and out-of-towners often peered at her board and snatched quests off of it. The front door opened up and Bach and her adventuring crew came in. Snow covered their shoulders and heads. As usual, Jaith and Jimble were in mid-argument, while Serendes followed behind, a grimace on her face. Bach was behind Serendes, and she also had an annoyed expression. Her face lit up when Bach's eyes met with Tessica's.
Hey, it's been a while. Oh, do you have anything hot to warm us up?
Tessica gestured to an open table.
Take a seat. We have tons of hot soup, as well as hard cider for those who want something warm and something that will get you drunk.
Give us some of that, please.
Some red ogre wine from me, but yes to the soup.
Whew, and some cold beer for me, please. I'll warm up on soup first.
Tessica took their orders and then went back to the kitchen. After about 5 minutes, she returned with the drinks, and 5 minutes after that, 4 bowls of hot soup. As soon as Tessica set the soup down, she regarded Bach.
So, how was your caravan gig?
Ooh, it wasn't too bad. If you remember, we had to escort a trade caravan through the woodlands and through the Denobi Meadow to the city of Lapis Glade. Oh, we had some trouble in the meadow, that's for sure.
Oh, what kind of trouble?
Homicidal unicorn.
Homicidal unicorns? That sounds terrifying.
It was, or at least it would be terrifying to a lesser group of adventurers.
And here we go.
It was about midday, and a fierce wind was blowing. A storm was coming,
It was a clear day.
and out of nowhere, 20 unicorns charged the caravan!
There were 5.
Fine, there were 5. Honestly, I'm trying to make the story sound more interesting. Anyway, the unicorns let out a battle cry, and they wore black masks over their long equine faces.
That part is actually true. You have to be careful with this one. He is kind of a pathological liar.
Whatever. Anyhow, they came charging at us with murderous intent, and then I
threw a fireball at them! Too bad they had casted protective magic on themselves, which soaked up most of my fire damage. The force scattered them.
Well, after they scattered, I
Got stabbed in the chest by one of their horns. I had to use a major healing spell to save him.
You all suck! You're leaving out the best part! I didn't immediately get stabbed! That unicorn and I dueled for a good 3 minutes before he got a lucky shot!
Lucky shot? More like a critical hit and he put his whole horn into your chest. You're lucky it didn't pierce your heart.
Oh, wow. I'm glad none of you died. Are roving bands of violent unicorns common?
The last one to die told us the unicorn queen of the meadow was going to rise up and something, oh, I'm burning alive! I stopped listening and just turned up the heat.
Unicorn queen of the meadow? Huh. I wonder if there'll be quests about that in the future.
Maybe. Don't get us wrong, we all were stabbed by those prancing pricks. Jaith was just stabbed the worst.
I even got kicked.
However, this time the highest kill count goes to me. I killed 3 of them.
And I weakened the one Jimble roasted. By the way, that friend of yours, Fanica, bought all the horns and blood.
Sounds like her. Let me know when you need refills.
Yes, ma'am.
Bonta grinned as she brought her axe back again, and then slammed it against the tree trunk, where she had struck multiple times. This was Bonta's element. Alone in the woods, a trusty and sharp axe in her hands, and a mighty tree before her. Out here, she was free to be herself, without catering to the needs or expectations of others. Bonta was strong enough that she could probably hack any thief or raider easily. Monsters were a different matter, in the fact that they were potentially more dangerous. Then again, monsters didn't care about her lineage or her looks. Meat was meat. The tree started to groan, and it finally fell to the ground with a satisfying whomp. Bonta caught her breath and let the winter chill eat away at her increased body heat. She was sweating a little, but her body tingled alive. She took a moment to gaze around her. Snow fell at a steady rate, and it was quite peaceful. The trees surrounding her gazed at her with silent contempt. Bonta placed her hands together before a standing tree.
I'm sorry I had to fell another one of you. Just like always, I vowed to plant 5 seeds for this one I stole from you. Thank you for your bounty.
Somewhere in the distance, the snow crunched, and it wasn't the singular crunch of an individual either. The chorus of steps droned into Bonta, so she turned around. A legion of figures were approaching her from behind. They were still about 300 feet away or so, but they were getting closer with a menacing focus. Bonta stepped back and held her axe out in front of her defensively. Even at a distance, the figures appeared strange. They didn't look like lumberjacks.
Hey, you there! What are you doing out here?
They got closer. The figures wore different outfits, or rather, various kinds of armor. Some of the figures wore the crests of the kingdom, but others wore foreign identifiers too. Bonta's guts twirled in her insides. These people were armed with battle weapons. She took another step back and the breeze blew against her face. Her throat closed up a little, and she gagged. Bonta raised her nostrils as the stench of rot assaulted her. The figures closed in 200 feet. From there, Bonta saw the exposed bone, the eerie glowing eyes, and the smell intensified. Bonta grabbed her sleigh and ran. An arrow whisked past her shoulder. She bobbed through the trees and eventually increased the distance. When she got to her horse cart, she tossed the sleigh in the back of the cart. Bonta mounted her horse and looked back in the direction she came, away from Autumn Bliss. Bonta whipped her reins and urged her steed to a full run. How strange. It was a clear and crisp winter day like so many that came before it. The sky was as white as the snowfields that separated the edge of Autumn Bliss from the tree line. A chilly gust caressed Levin's cheeks as he stared at the trees. He only saw darkness and only heard the wind. Still, Levin's stomach jostled like an angry troll. This sense of dread, it was as welcome as a goblin's spring. Earlier that day, someone had come to town hall, talking about an army of undead marching through the forest. The person who reported it had been one of the lumberjacks, the half-ogre woman to be specific. Bonta was a friend of Tessica's. At first, the mayor dismissed her with a nasty rebuke, which was strange. Then again, the mayor had been off for about a month and a half. Levin had to be the one who stepped up to check out the claim, just to be sure. No one else wanted to bother with it. If Bonta was wrong, then there wasn't any harm done. If they did nothing and she was right...
Do you really think they're going to come, sir?
Levin looked back to the dozen city guards who stood with him on the edge of town to stop an enemy that might not come.
What I think doesn't matter. We'll find out soon enough if the lumberjack was correct or not. I appreciate you all coming out here with me.
If we didn't, you would have fought them all by yourself.
Probably. Listen, everyone, I know the prospect of fighting undead is scary. This is our home, our people, and our communities. We have a vested interest in keeping evil out. It's scary because undead are unnatural, but you're not alone. None of you are. We are together. And if something does come out of that forest, we're gonna kick its ass!
Several of the guards raised their spears high and gave off cheers. Others, at the very least, looked a little more emotionally sturdy.
Now, Bonta mentioned archers. If any of you see archers, try to move around and dodge while you close the distance. For the frontline fighters, use your spear's lengths to your advantage. Strike hard and fast, and keep an eye on the guard next to you. Should this actually happen, then if we stand together, we can get through this.
One of the guards pointed to the distance, and his face scrunched up in absolute dread.
Sir, look!
All eyes turned to gaze at the tree line. The soft crunch of marching found their way into Levin's ears. He gripped his spear shaft as he began counting the figures who emerged from the forest. The number was far more than 12 city guards could handle.
Okay, Nicole, run as fast as you can to Town Hall. Ring the emergency bell and direct all of the guards here. We need everyone.
Everyone?
Levin turned to her, and the billowing anxiousness festered in his chest.
Everyone. City guards, adventurers, anyone who can fight.
City guard Wicole ran back into Autumn Bliss. Levin, on the other hand, started walking closer to the small horde of undead. His body felt a little numb, and yet Levin couldn't afford to let his fear control him. He was a member of the city guard, and goddess damn it, he would stand strong against all threats that approached Autumn Bliss. Levin stopped about 1/4 of a mile from the city. Somewhere behind him, he heard the bells of Town Hall ring loudly. Good. The people knew of the coming danger. Levin slammed the end of his spear in the snow. Movement to his side caught his eye, so he turned his head. The other 10 city guards stood beside him, all watching the army coming toward them. The undead got closer. Levin saw their armor, their crests, their weapons, and their macabre faces. 100 or so undead, maybe more, came within 1,000 feet.
You are not alone! You have your fellow guards, the hopes and faith of the people, and you have me! Stand with me!
Levin raised his spear up.
For Autumn Bliss!
For Autumn Bliss!
Rather than run at the undead, Levin braced himself. Other people, some of them city guards and others adventurers, ran from the city to join the line.
What's the plan? We charging them or what?
Without looking back, Levin made the announcement.
Our main priority is protecting the city and those who live there. Let those bastards come to us and keep them back! Hold the line!
To his surprise, more voices than he thought present originally cried out.
Yes!
When Levin turned around, a wide warmth rippled within his insides. All 112 city guards were present, or they were running toward the crowd. A significant number of those present were adventurers. More inspiring was that there were locals in the crowd as well. Levin recognized some of them. Zordimer the Butcher, Sherry, the vegan who worked at the mill, Zeddy from Lilies and Lilacs, Bonta the lumberjack, even Jarcy, the schoolteacher, was out there with them. Levin's eyes watered as he turned back to the undead army, now within 100 feet. Some of the undead monsters stopped and drew arrows from quivers.
Archers! Set a guard! Charge!
Without looking back to see if anyone ran with him, Levin sprinted forth. To his delight, faster adventurers ran ahead of him, and they got to the undead first. And so, the battle began. Levin rammed his spear into a zombie's chest and then knocked it to the ground. Someone smashed its head, and Levin pulled his spear free. He parried a jagged sword, and he stabbed a skeleton in the right eye socket. It jerked a little and then fell to the side. As soon as Levin freed his spear, another terrible foe lurched toward him. However, before it could attack, another guard chopped the skeleton in two, hacking its upper and lower torsos apart. Likewise, he covered others around him who attempted to free their weapons. Over and over again, Levin thrusted his spear into the rotten forms of a walking corpse. He dodged and parried sword strikes, and many times, either he or someone around him delivered a fatal blow. An arrow bit into his shoulder, but he grunted and fought forward. Someone touched the back of Levin's arm. When Levin looked back, a cleric adventurer stood behind him. She gestured to him, and a grizzled warrior took his place. The cleric pulled the arrow out and then healed Levin's wounds. As soon as he was completely fixed, she went on to someone else. Levin saw an injured warrior further down the line, and Levin tapped the warrior on his shoulder. At first the warrior glared, but then a relieved expression covered his face. Levin slipped into his spot and began protecting his right and left allies. After considerable effort, the last skeleton fell under a rock gnome female adventurer's axe. Suddenly, a ghostly image appeared above the broken remains of the undead invaders. The visage of a withered and grotesque undead creature glared down at Levin and the others. The creature had a light green set of robes with blue embroidery along the edges of the garment. It wore an unusual headdress that looked like something a high-ranking official might wear. The ghastly figure had a staff with a zombie hand as its headpiece, and the hand clutched a red gem.
Take heed and listen, foolish breathers. I am Gorgava, the Lord of the Undead. I hope you found my initial greeting to be acceptable. This paltry lot is only a mere fraction of my legions of death. I claim to your plight of a town. Be gone before my army arrives, or join its ranks. You have 10 days to comply. I, Gorgava, claim Autumn Bliss as my own.
The ghostly image faded, leaving Levin and the others to be flooded with silent dread and winter wind kisses.